Excellent. Here we've got lots of people coming on.
Oh, wow. Look at this. Hey, everybody, throw in the chat where you're from, where you're based. I'm in Tucson and I'm going to Boston tomorrow. If you know Boston, tell me where I should be eating. I want tips, please. Throw it in the chat.
What are you going to do in Boston?
I am speaking.
Of course.
And
For
I'm
whom?
going to go, well, I don't think I can't say just yet.
Okay.
It's for another STEM audience. I am pro STEM, and it's about career development and optimizing your postdoc and all different areas. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm going to go hopefully to a museum and eat chowder at the and I'll park my car in Harvard Yard because that's what I have to do, right?
Okay, very good. Yeah, there's lots of museums there. Museum of Science, there's the MIT Museum, there's a Children's Museum, that's one of the oldest in the country.
Yes.
And also the Art Museum, of course, the Isabel Stewart, I think, is there too. So it's just a wonderful place. So
I will
enjoy.
Definitely checking that out. And I see we have James from Boulder, we have Zachary from North Carolina, Molly from West Lebanon, New Hampshire. Hey, Chris. Hey, y'all. So glad you're here. We're going to get started in just a moment. This is such a great group we're getting today.
Sure.
Oh, all right. Well, Kanishka from India. Hi, Kanishka. Welcome.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to start with my slides. First of all, I'll introduce myself and welcome everyone. I'm Diane Frendak, the Director of Membership Services, and I have some slides to share about the upcoming meeting, and hopefully you can see them right now. It's a return to in-person meetings. OMG, a proof of vaccination is required. So you're going to have to go through that step first. At worst, it'll take 48 hours, but it's really pretty snappy. There is a virtual option. It's the plenaries, iPosters, town halls, press conferences. You can even have access to the Slack. So that's something that you should consider if you are not going to the meeting in person. Upcoming deadlines. Oh my gosh, Friday, the early registration deadline. So now's the time to get set up. And then next week, there's the late breaking abstracts. Whoop. Oh my goodness. I told Alaina that I would probably mess this up, and look, I have.
We're all human here.
I know. Well, you know what? At this point, I'm just going to stop the share and just tell everyone that what was on my last slide? I don't even know. So I think I just might hand it over. Today, we're going to learn how to avoid common mistakes as a grad student and as a postdoc. And I will definitely hone up on my PowerPoint skills. Alaina, you're on.
Thank you, Diane. No problem. Welcome, astronomers, astrophysicists, cosmologists, and planetary scientists. I am Alaina G. Levine. I'm president of Quantum Success Solutions. I'm a professional speaker, a STEM career coach and consultant, a public speaking coach, and a science writer. And as always, I am psyched to be here with you today to talk to you about a topic which we really should be all thinking about, and that is how to make sure that we can avoid mistakes that we make in opportunities, avoid them, and then potentially recover from them when we do make mistakes. And who doesn't make mistakes? Throw it in the chat. I'm going to be monitoring it the whole time. I won't call you out, but I will say yes, yes, yes. Have you made a mistake? I've definitely made mistakes. I've made mistakes today. I've made mistakes in my career. And you know what? I will make mistakes again. And that is totally fine. We just need to be aware of them. We need to acknowledge them. We need to collect data from them, and then we need to recover. So today, what we're going to be talking about is how to avoid and recover from common mistakes that typically we may find in the postdoc and also in the graduate school experience. So I see a couple of people have made mistakes. Not surprising, because you are human beings after all. Diane, I just want to make sure that everybody can see my slides. I just want to make sure that that is good to go.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, awesome. So as always, I will be monitoring the chat. And so if you have questions, if you have comments, throw them in the chat. I'm going to be taking your questions throughout and also at the end. And I want to hear from you what your feedback is. So you don't have to use, somebody asked you about the Q&A feature. You don't have to use that. You can throw your question right in the chat. And if you want to help me to identify the questions, put a Q in front of the question so that when I go through, I can find them. So let's talk about how to avoid and recover from common common postdoc and graduate school mistakes. And as always, you are welcome to live tweet this talk at AAS_office, at Alaina G. Levine, hashtag networking for nerds, or hashtag your unicorn career. Make sure you tag us so that we can repost what you have to say. We want to make sure that you are getting promotional value from it as well. You are welcome to take screen pictures, screenshots, and you're welcome to post anything that I say online. That is totally fine with me. And as always, I want to invite you to join me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is Alaina G. Levine. And I use LinkedIn as the primary way to send out free career planning resources, invitations to webinars, articles, tip sheets, templates, you name it. I want to be able to make sure that you're in the know to enable your success. So please join me on LinkedIn. You don't even have to customize the invitation. So today, what we're going to be talking about are typical, quote unquote, typical mistakes that people can make before the graduate school and postdoc experience, during the graduate school and postdoc experience, and after. And it is really very much a time type of situation where we think before, during, and after. And what I notice is that there are a lot of mistakes made in preparing for the grad school experience and the postdoc and in selecting that opportunity. And then once we're there, we make mistakes, and then we make mistakes following. So I want to address a few of those today. And if there are other mistakes that I don't mention or mistakes that I make about mistakes, let me know in the chat. I want to make sure that I am delivering value to you. So once we identify and acknowledge the mistakes, guess what? We are going to talk about how to recover from them. Because believe me, there's only one type of mistake in this universe right now that we cannot recover from. One type of action that we cannot recover from. And you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about death, to be very serious. Everything else is relatable, and everything else is potentially recoverable. And so I know that right now, particularly for those of you that are in graduate school or in postdocs, or are thinking about either, that you may be thinking, oh, I made a mistake. I didn't do X, or I did Y, or I didn't communicate with my advisor, or I picked the wrong program for me. There's no way that I can recover. You know what? Unless it is death, you can recover. There are ways to recover. And we're going to talk about that and talk about the lessons that we can learn. So the first mistake has to do with our mindset, our mind frame, and how we perceive the system that we are in. And so what I hear from a lot of my coaching clients, and when I'm doing private coaching and when I'm doing these types of speaking engagements, I hear a lot of STEM educated professionals, just like you, graduate students, undergrads, postdocs, saying, what if I make a mistake in my career? What if I make the wrong choice, or I made the wrong choice, or I don't have choice, or I don't have any power, or my path, my choices, my value is fixed and limited? People often use the words I can't with me, or I shouldn't, or I won't be able to, or I'm not going to be able to, or I'll disappoint myself, or maybe more importantly, other people. These are some of the different things that I hear from different people about what they are thinking about in terms of mistakes. And I get that. I totally get that. And we are all, because we're humans, we all have the potential to say, I can't do X, or I made the wrong choice and there's nothing more I can do. And I also recognize that your advisors or your mentors or your community, your network of people that you trust, that you support, may be giving you advice and saying, you made this mistake and there's no way to recover, or you entered into this graduate program and you have a toxic advisor, you have to stay with them, because that's how the system works. And I'm here to tell you that much of what we learn from outside sources is that we have to guide ourselves first and foremost. And Chris, I appreciate your point. Chris makes a point about the other type of mistake that is potentially unrecoverable from, and that relates to criminal charges. And fortunately, because I am speaking to astronomers, astrophysicists, planetary scientists, and cosmologists, you don't ever commit any crimes, right? You are totally, totally golden and pure completely. Yes, you may make some mistakes in the office and in the scientific community, but not in terms of crime. Am I right, Chris? I think I am. Yes, absolutely. So anyway, I want you to be aware of that. A lot of the challenges that we have, a lot of the mistakes that we make before, during, and after these experiences And this also goes for the larger job search and career path that you build for yourself, is really based on a framing of our own minds. It's our own perceptions. We perceive that we are unable to do more. We perceive that the universe is small and only consists of certain opportunities. Or we perceive that I won't be able to do X, or that because I am in this program and it doesn't seem right to me, I'm not going to be able to do anything else. And what I'm here to say is that much of what this is internal perceptions. So what we're going to do is we're going to retrain our brain, retrain our framing in our minds to be more open to seeing the world as it actually is, which is a series of opportunities in a series of universes. We're talking about a multiverse. So the idea here is that there is not just one opportunity, there's not just one advisor, there are many, many advisors, there are many, many programs, there are many, many opportunities, and we need to be more cognizant of that. I'm going to talk to you about how to do that. But that's the first perception. The first mistake is having misperceptions that the universe is small and solo, and that my choices and power are limited, because that's not true at all. Mistake number two is taking a job, and I mean that by a job here, I mean an opportunity, I mean a grad program, I mean an advisor, I mean a postdoc appointment, taking that opportunity because you think, you perceive, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that there's nothing else to do. This is a falsehood. There is not only one path. There is not only one career for you. There is a multitude of diverse career paths. There is a multitude of diverse ecosystems, sectors, organizations, employers, and collaborators, and even fields and disciplines that you can work in and be a part of. And just because other people near you, adjacent to you, take a job, take a postdoc, go to graduate school, go to this graduate school, does not mean that that is necessarily the right choice for you. A lot of what we think about, we're getting some really great comments, I will get to them. A lot of what we think about and what we deal with is measuring ourselves. I'm going to talk about that explicitly in a few moments. But what we should not do is consider an opportunity because we think that it's the only thing that there is to do. There's nothing else to do except taking that graduate program. There's nothing else that I can do in astronomy or with an astronomy degree except go to graduate school, except do this postdoc. And this is especially a challenge for us, and especially a deficit for us in terms of our emotional, mental, even potentially physical, holistic, and career health, because it puts in our mind that we don't have power, that we don't have choice, and that we only can do this, especially if, and it's damaging, especially if this, whatever that job is, whatever that opportunity is feeling like it's not right for us. There is not only one path. There is not only one career. There are many, many different types of careers. And so to fix this, we have to fix our thinking. We have to identify and know our multiverse, know the multiverse, know that there's not one opportunity for careers. There are many, and careers are not linear. They are non-linear. They are just all over the place. And what you do right now is going to help you get to the next step. Absolutely. But it does not define your entire life. It does not define it. So it's very, very useful to understand. You, as an astronomer, as an astrophysicist, you understand the nature of the universe. That's your job, is to study it, to quantify it, to qualify it, to better pierce the void and help us to understand the nature of the universe. Well, in your research, in your work as a scientist in this realm, you have given yourself an advantage because you know universes, you know how to study the universe, and you also know that there's not just one universe in terms of career development. There's many of them. So we have to fix our thinking by, first of all, understanding that we're in a larger system of many universes of careers. We may not know what they are just right now yet, but we do know they exist. And just knowing that they exist, acknowledging that, then we can actually move forward. Then we can start to do quantifiable research on what types of careers, as well as qualifiable, on what types of careers would be right for us in what types of universes. Acknowledge the outer limits, acknowledge that there is a multiverse. And then We have to acknowledge and know our value proposition. We have to recognize that we create value, that we have value. So your value, and I've talked about this a lot in many different webinars for the AAS. So I do encourage you to take a look at the AAS website. And Diane, if you could throw that in the chat with all the webinars. And Diane, if you could please also do a link to the YouTube channel for AAS with all the videos that we've done of all the webinars, so that you have all of these resources at your fingertips and your brain, so that you can see I've done webinars on how to identify your value and market and communicate that value and how to look for careers. But that's just something I wanted to share with you. So we have value. We have more value than we expect. We have more value than we envisioned to begin with. And so the idea here is that we have to recognize that we are the ultimate problem solvers, especially having studied STEM, especially having studied the astronomical sciences. We know how to identify a problem, and we have the bravery and the courage and the wherewithal and the brilliance to be able to solve that problem, or at least try. And so we're going to take that same robust problem-solving capability, and we're going to apply it to being a problem solver in our career. And we're going to recognize the value that we have. So we have a couple of different types of value. We have the scientific value that we have created or elucidated in our scientific research. That's absolutely true. That's one area of our value. We also have a secondary set of value. The secondary set consists of all of the secondary, so to speak, skills that you gain from studying science, from being in science. You gained leadership experience, you gained communications, you gained experimentation and research and data collection and data science, and being able to assess technology and use technology and manage projects and budgets and personnel and train people and mentor people. These are all skills that you have gained from being in science. So the scientific know-how, the skills of science, the secondary skills of science, combined with hard business skills, some of which I actually mentioned, including project management, including budgeting, these all combine to create a continuum of skills which are useful to you when you're looking for careers, but more importantly, perhaps it's also useful to your employers. And so when we recognize that we actually have an abundance of value, a huge amount of value, we begin to see, wow, if I have all this value and there is a universe, a multiverse of universes that I could potentially pierce and go into, I begin to see, wow, I have a lot more power than I expected. I have a lot more choice than I may have been told by my advisors, who may not necessarily understand the multiverse in terms of career development. So going back to the problem here, the mistake that I take a job, a graduate program, or a postdoc appointment because there's nothing else to do, guess what? There is much more to do. You don't have to do that unless you really are drawn to it. If this excites you, if it is your great love, then this is something you can do and you could do right now. But if it is not, if it is something that brings you sadness or anxiety or doesn't feel right to you for a number of different reasons, you do not have to do it. You have other options. You have other choices. So what we have to be mindful of is that we have this multiverse of opportunities. We don't know what it is just yet, but we will find ways to access it. And then we have this abundance of skill sets which are valuable in this multiverse. And so we want to be able to tell that to ourselves so that we can access that power that we have. This is really, really good. I'm getting a lot of really interesting comments here. I want to just take a moment and actually address some of them. This is so great. I'm really appreciative of you all being so engaged here. This is fabulous. So somebody was asking, let me just quickly jump down. Somebody was asking, after getting into a postdoc position, I've not been able to deliver for the past 2 years. And now I'm starting to think maybe research is not for me, but research in astronomy is what has got me this far. I am confused. So I want to thank this person so much for your kind thought and for being so honest with us. And I want to address that. And I think we're going to be able to address that actually throughout the whole session today. But let's take a moment about that right now. I haven't been able to do as much as I expected or wanted to do in the last 2 years, and I'm not sure what to do next. I thought this was where I wanted to be. So it could be that you have changed, that the system has changed you. And that's an important thing to remember, that we ourselves as individuals living in the multiverse, we are complex systems. We are complex individuals. Okay. And I often refer to us as complex systems in and of itself. So I am complex and I move forward through the arrow of time in a complex system, right? The system that I'm living in, the universe that I am occupying, the community that I am a part of, right? That's science, that's life, that's earth, all of that. It's a complex system. The system is changing as I'm moving forward in time, and it is changing me. And then I am changing the system. So it's a lot of complexity in there. And so when I am in a experience, particularly one that I took because I didn't know what else to do, the experience is going to elucidate new things for me about the multiverse, and it's going to give me new data about myself, and it's going to potentially change me. And we're not going to say it's changing me for the good or the bad, because there's none of that. It's just changing me. I am being influenced by it. And what that means is that I am now able to see things that I didn't see, and new parts of me are being awakened that I didn't have access to before. And that's always a good thing, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm going to call that a good thing. So for the person who just asked that question, I want to say, I understand you're confused. You're confused. I definitely understand that, but I want to say that there is a way out. We have to acknowledge that we are gathering data about ourselves with every experience. And there are assessments that I have talked about in previous webinars, including an assessment called a skill inventory matrix, a needs and wants list, a SWOT analysis, all of which you can access in all of those other webinars to help you understand the power and the choice that you have. And even if you are in an experience like this person said, that they had not been able to be as productive or deliver in the way that they had wanted to, that could be an indication that this is a toxic environment for you. If you're not able to thrive, what you can do is let's turn the lens back and let's look at myself. Why am I not thriving? Let's use my scientific problem-solving skills to solve this problem. Why was I not able to deliver? Ask yourself that. And I suspect that it's not just you. It's not just because of you. I suspect it's because of the system. I suspect that this advisor, this program, this institution, maybe this discipline is not for you at this moment. Could be for you in the future. It could be a toxic situation, but I really do think that it's probably the system, the complex system influencing you. So I really appreciate that point. I'll stick around for additional questions as we keep going. Somebody asked, and I appreciate this, what are the best ways to identify the mistakes before they become bigger problems? So by using this guide of what are the mistakes, the typical mistakes before, during, and after, I think that's a useful thing to help to identify the mistakes, because then I can say, wow, I am doing this postdoc because I didn't think there was anything else to do. Ah, that's a mistake. I can fix that mistake. So that's one way. And I appreciate your question, by the way. Thanks for asking it. Another way that we can identify it is doing assessments of our emotional response. So if I notice over time, and you can keep track of this, you could do it on an hour-to-hour or day-to-day basis, keeping track on your private device or in a notebook that nobody else is going to have access to. How am I feeling as I go about my day? How am I feeling in this hour? I just had a meeting with my advisor. What did I feel? And just be very raw about it. You don't have to get into the details, but I feel sad. I feel scared. I feel happy. I feel invigorated. I feel anxious. I feel fear. I feel like I want to rip my hair out of my head. Be honest with yourself about those feelings and track them over a period of 2 to 3 weeks, because you want to see the patterns. And if over the period of 2 to 3 weeks, you see that the majority of your emotional responses to your day-to-day has been what are so-called the negative emotions, the sadness, the anxiety, the fear, and the anger, as opposed to joy and happiness and invigorated feelings, ignite an ignition of a fuel in your brain and productivity. If you're not experiencing that, but only the negative or mostly the negative, this could be indicative of something that we could analyze and fix before it becomes even bigger. It could be that we need to have a better communication with our advisor, or it could be something more drastic and more serious, and your advisor could be a zombie. And this was a webinar that we did a couple of weeks ago as well on how to identify and escape from a zombie boss. So I appreciate that point. We'll get to more details about it. And I see there's a lot more questions coming in. This is awesome. We will actually have more. So more time to address questions. So we're trying to clarify that there are multiple universes, there are multiple value, there's multiple value that we have, and there's multiple paths that we can take. So the mistake of taking an opportunity because there's nothing else to do is to take charge and ownership of your career, to be completely honest with yourself about your emotional responses, about the way you work, about the type of community that you want to be in, about the type of partners, advisors, bosses you want to have, about the type of work that you actually want to do, and doing these self-assessments that I mentioned, like the skill inventory matrix and the SWOT analysis. You can also start doing research on other career paths. So when I talk about career development, there is a very, very simple equation, if you will, of being able to figure out what career paths, notice I said paths, not path. There's multiple paths that you can pursue. There is a very simple equation that you can use, or formula that you can use to plan out how you can figure out what career paths would be right for you. Places and communities and jobs where you would thrive, where you would be your most creative and most productive at your most authentic self. And this is the equation. We're doing data collection. I'm going to walk you through the pieces of this, but basically we're doing intrinsic data collection, then extrinsic data collection, and then we're doing a bridge. So the extrinsic data collection is the assessments that I've just talked about. Understanding what skills I have, understanding my value, understanding the problems I've solved, understanding my strengths and my weaknesses, my opportunities, my threats. That's what a SWOT analysis is. Understanding my needs and my wants and my priorities and my values. So collecting data from our own minds and hearts to better understand who we are as a person and what we can do in our career and where we will thrive, And I don't mean the places yet. I mean, what type of environment would be useful for us based on the skills that we want to use, based on the problems that we love to solve, based on the impact that we want to have. We need to collect that data. That's the intrinsic data. The other side of it is the extrinsic data collection that we get from networking and from pursuing secondary research using sources such as papers, articles, videos, reading people's websites, reading companies and organizational articles and websites, taking a look at the AAS website and taking a look at the conference that's coming up and all the events that are happening and all the people that are involved in reading. So we are accessing and trying to get extrinsic data about the different ecosystems where we would thrive and the different communities where we would be able to add value through networking and the secondary research. So that's the extrinsic data. Intrinsic is us, extrinsic is outside of us, and then we bridge it through marketing processes and practices, communicating our value, so that the other parties in those other universes, in those other communities, understand what it is that we can do for them and with them. So this is also something I talk about a lot at AAS webinars. You can take a look. Most recently, I did a webinar about how to champion or market your value. You'll see that in the YouTube page. So I hope you'll take a look at that and the networking is really, really important. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment, but this is something that is very, very useful to be thinking about. So the mistake too, continuing on with the fix, is that when we consider that we are taking a job only because what else am I going to do? I'm an astronomy major, so there's nothing else for me to do. So I'll just go to graduate school and hope for the best. That's not how you plan for a future. That is more of, I'm just going to do this because I don't know what else to do. And what I'm saying is that you are actually empowered. Now, going back to the question that was asked a few moments ago, how do you stop mistakes or how do you identify mistakes and possibly fix them before they grow into bigger problems? My point to you is that even if you're already in the job, even if you're already in the postdoc or the graduate program, and you're already in there, you can still fix this. You finish up the appointment to the best way that you can, if you can. If you have a harasser as an advisor, you can't. You have to escape. There's no way to deal with somebody like that. They're not of this universe or even of this multiverse. They're a creature from another dimension, and you have no business being disrespected like that. So you have to flee. But if you can stay and if they're not a toxic advisor, if you can stay and finish up this job, this appointment, this program, then you can use the time while you're there to do extensive research, both on yourself and potential opportunities, and move on from there. And I'm going to give you some ideas about that. Bottom line, do not let anyone tell you that there's nothing else you can do. I have been in that situation. I went to my mathematics advisor and I said, what else can I do besides go to graduate school, besides be a professor of mathematics, work in a think tank, a teacher, or work in actuarial studies? And as many of you have heard this story, he literally turned to me and literally used the word nothing. There was nothing that I could do. There were no jobs, no careers, no ecosystems that would be best served by somebody with a mathematics degree, except the ones that I just mentioned. And then he proceeded to make me feel like a failure because I had decided not to go to graduate school. And you and I both know that is nutso bananas. That is nutso bananas. And I believe that's the exact scientific term for that behavior. There is not anyone that can tell us that there's nothing else that we can do, or that will stop us from doing something that is physically possible on this planet, in this universe. Don't let anybody ever speak to you like that. If they do, you don't have to scream and curse at them, but what you can do, excuse me, I have something in my eye. What you can do is you can just remember for yourself that they do not know me. They do not dictate the nature of the multiverse. Mistake number 3 is starting in a job or a career because there's nothing else to do. So this is a little bit differently. In other words, what I don't want you to do is staying. I don't want you to wander in the hamster wheel of postdoc to postdoc to postdoc, not knowing what else you can do, only thinking that the next thing I can do is just postdoc. I don't have any jobs that I've applied for jobs. I haven't gotten any jobs. Therefore, I'm just going to go to my next postdoc. I want you to free yourself from feeling desperate for a job, because when we are in this sense, a state of desperation, we may make choices that are not the healthiest for both our career health and our physical and emotional and mental health. So what we want to do is we want to build a strategic plan. And so we build the plan by doing that intrinsic and extrinsic data collection early in our career and all throughout our career. We don't wait until the pivot point of graduating or 1 month before the postdoc is complete to start thinking about what we want to do next. We actually start the moment that we start the role. Interestingly enough, we can start the strategic plan at any point. But if you are just starting your graduate work, if you are just starting your postdoc, you can start building your career plan now by doing the networking and doing the self-assessment. You don't have to wait for the inflection point of when the change is going to actually occur. So what we can do is build a strategic plan with timelines and milestones, actual activities that are going to help me complete the plan. I'm going to network with X number of people each week. I'm going to reach out to Y number of AAS members each month to have casual conversations. But I'm going to treat it like a job. I'm going to be very professional about it. But I'm going to build in flexibility and contingency plans because things may change. Just like what I was saying before, the system is going to change me. I may go to the winter conference and I will be there in Salt Lake City with you. I hope you will join me there. I may go to that winter conference, present my poster, and somebody may come up to my poster and we may end up talking. We may go out for coffee and I may learn from her an opportunity to switch from galactic astrophysics to more on the data science side of observational, or to switch from galaxies to stars, or to switch from stars to gamma ray bursts, or whatever. And suddenly this new universe of ideas has opened up to me, and I'm starting to see, the work that I did in gamma ray bursts is absolutely applicable to other cosmological phenomena. And I am really interested in galaxies. And here's somebody who would love to work with me and bring in me with my unique perspective relating to gamma ray bursts to help her team in relating to galaxies. Now the system has changed me because I'm seeing new opportunities, and this is a flexibility that I've built into my plan. I may decide I want to go work with her, and I didn't even realize that she existed. I didn't even think that this area of astrophysics was relevant and accessible to me. So I want to think creatively and I want to think entrepreneurially, looking for opportunities at every single step of the process. That's a really important thing that we can do to fix any mistake. But don't stay in a role or don't stay in a career path just because you think there's nothing else to do. Free yourself from that hamster wheel. I am telling you that there is more to do. Mistake number 4 is thinking that the only jobs that exist, the only opportunities, including postdoc appointments, are the ones that are advertised. There is a totally hidden job market. It exists only by networking, something I've talked about a lot. And networking is not me trying to get something from you. It's not me emailing you and saying, do you have a postdoc? Do you have an opportunity? Do you have any money? Can you give me a job? Can you give me an opportunity? Give me, I need, we, me. It's not that. Networking is the exact opposite of that. Networking is, what can I do for you? What can we do together? How can I help your agenda, move your agenda forward with my unique skills, interests, and passion and intelligence? That's what networking is. It is the most generous act that we can engage in our careers, because we are genuinely and generously looking to add value to the other party. And when you approach networking with that mindset, we're changing our mindset. Remember, you find that a whole universe of opportunities opens up to you. Because if I see you as somebody who wants to help me, I'm suddenly going to be thinking, she's really smart. She would be awesome in my team. And now I've given you access to a hidden job. I've told you about a postdoc that I haven't even advertised yet. I've told you about an opportunity that would be right for you. Or maybe I've even created an opportunity from scratch for you. That happens all the time. So we have to network to access this. We have to network to find these opportunities and also to assess them. And I've spoken many, many times about the details of networking, and I'm happy to answer additional questions about that, but I wanted to just let you know about that. So related to this mistake of thinking that the only jobs out there are advertised jobs, I want you to think about the following: that you can not only get access to hidden jobs through networking, but you can actually create your own job. And more importantly, you can create your own unicorn career. So I call your unicorn career, I refer to that as the customized career that you design yourself based on your own priorities and values and goals. It allows you to be your authentic self 100% of the time. It allows you to be creative. It brings you joy as you solve problems that are meaningful and impactful to you. And it is something that we can create ourselves when we network and when we are open and cognizant of the multiverse of opportunities. So we want to be aware of that it doesn't have to just be a promoted postdoc or a promoted graduate RA-ship with a particular professor in a particular program. If you are really interested in gamma ray bursts and you see that this particular professor at this institution is an expert in it, why don't you approach her? Why don't you email her and say, this is something that is really interesting to me. I'd love to learn more about what you're doing and how I can position myself for success. Maybe there's a way that I could even join your community or join your lab or your group in the future to contribute to your success, to contribute to your programs. Could we talk about it? Let's consider, if there are multiple universes, if there is a multiverse, guess what? There is a possibility and a probability that you can create your unicorn career. You do not have to rely just on positions that are advertised in this moment in time. Mistake number 4A relates to a topic I just mentioned, which was networking or building our career strategic plan only at those pivot points. Only when I'm about to graduate, only when I'm about to finish complete my dissertation, only when I'm about to finish my postdoc. It's never too late to network and build your strategic plan, but it's also never too early. You can start right now. So the fix is to start by finding people to talk with, to network with, and to learn from. So you can start by looking at the different committees and the AAS, the leadership, other members. You can go through the membership directory. You can take a look at who's speaking at the winter meeting. You can take a look at alumni associations. You can read papers, but you can also read articles in the popular press and contact the people who are quoted or who are writing the pieces, attend conferences strategically, and of course, look at social media engagement, see who is posting. So these are just some ideas to fix this issue. I see we have an interesting question. I want to answer it. I appreciate this question. How do we differentiate between quote unquote real mistakes and quote unquote fake mistakes? For example, a person really wanted to pursue a postdoc career, continue their career in academia. However, after a series of rejection, this determination started to feel like a mistake. So I appreciate that point, and I know that it's coming from a very heartfelt, perhaps even emotional perspective. And so I want to honor you and I want to thank you for asking that question. So the thing is that what we have to do is we have to take data at every point in our career. So if we've wanted to do a postdoc because we really enjoy that type of work, then, and if we're not able to get the next postdoc, or we're not able to be as productive or creative in our postdoc as we wanted to, or we keep getting rejected from from postdocs that we're applying for, what we want to do is look for points where we can actually gather useful, intelligent data. So if I keep applying for a job, if I've applied for 20 jobs and I've gotten 0 interviews, well, guess what? We can whittle that down to a data point. The data point is where you are, how you are marketing yourself. It's your CV, it's your cover letter, it's your research, teaching, and diversity, equity, and inclusion statements. Because the application for the job gets you an interview. And if you're not getting any interviews, that means that there is something that can be improved upon in the application. So that is how we whittle it down to the strategic, to the most important data points. And then we examine what we could do better in that data point. What can I do to better market myself? What can I do to better communicate my expertise, my passion, my knowledge in this realm? So it could be a data point issue. That's one thing. I also find that the majority of mistakes that are made, or not mistakes, no, actually, I think this would be relevant. The majority of challenges that people have in advancing in their career, when they face rejection, when they have problems, they're not advancing in the way that they want, or at the quickness, at the rate that they want. It all comes down to marketing. Are you effectively communicating your expertise? And, when I work individually with my coaching clients, and by the way, there is a coaching program through AAS. As a member, you can book sessions, private confidential sessions with me. Diane, if you can throw that in the chat, please, I would appreciate it, so that we can actually go into more detail about your unique interests and your goals. When I meet with individual clients, the majority of the problems that they have been having in advancing their career all come down to a marketing issue. They are not effectively communicating the full extent of their value. And so a lot of what we work on is how to do that. So that, I think, may be the issue. It may not be that, in answer to your question, that this was a mistake for me to pursue this. It may just be that I'm not effectively communicating what it is that I can do for the parties that I want to work with in the future. Now, if you find after adjusting your marketing materials, you're getting job interviews, so that means you're marketing yourself well, but you're not getting jobs, then that means that there's something happening in the interview, which most likely is a communications issue as well. So we can address those communication and marketing issues individually, and not necessarily me and you, although that's relevant and useful too. But I mean, you personally can look for the data points and see where you can actually improve the communications. And it may not be that you've chosen the wrong path. It may just be that you are not communicating your value in the right way. So the next mistake is thinking about your outputs, that the work that you do in your postdoc and your graduate work is going to guarantee you a job. I hear this a lot from graduate students and postdocs. They're like, well, wait a second, Alaina, why aren't I getting any jobs? I've had so many papers. I've gone to so many conferences. I've done so much networking. I'm not getting any jobs. It's not enough to rely just on your papers, just on your projects, just on your grants. You have to be able to tell people that you had these papers, these accomplishments, these grants, and so forth. That's the marketing aspect. So we have to do appropriate self-promotion. And make no mistake, I am talking about not bragging. I'm not talking about bragging. I am talking about appropriate communications of your value through speaking, through doing posters, through writing articles, but also popular science science pieces and op-eds, opinion pieces. I'm talking about promoting ourselves by serving on committees, by serving on boards. We are promoting our value and the work that we do and our commitment to the community, by applying for awards and nominating others for awards, by being active in the society like the AAS, by mentoring others, by giving back, by having what I call a pay it forward plan. This is something I've written about, and also being involved in social media. So all these activities are effective in promoting ourselves and are very, very useful to let the community know what our value is and that we are an authority. And don't make a mistake in thinking that you think that you don't have any authority, quote unquote, just because you are a student, a graduate student, a postdoc. You have built an authority. You may not be the only authority. You may not be the more authoritative on the subject of active galactic nuclei than somebody who got perhaps a Nobel Prize in AGN. I'm not saying that, and we're not going to promote that like that either. But I am saying that by doing graduate work, by doing a postdoc, you do have a level of expertise. You do have a level of authority in a topic, particularly doing a dissertation. You are the only person in the universe, indeed in the multiverse, who knows that topic as well as you do. Nobody else has done that research before because it's original. So therefore, you are an authority in that topic. So we want to make sure that we are promoting that so that people know that they can come to us for opportunities, that we are there to help them. Another mistake is not taking advantage of resources and opportunities within your institution. These are resources for professional development, skill development, leadership, communications. They are opportunities to network. They are opportunities to gain experience in leadership and outreach and communications. They are opportunities to apply for awards and be recognized for your accomplishments. They are opportunities for reputation, amplification, and marketing, such as speaking about how to go to graduate school, to the undergraduate astronomy club, or being a part of the graduate student advisory committee or the council or the postdoc advisory council so that you can gain these skills and promote yourself. You're not taking advantage of building cross-disciplinary collaborations. You're not networking with people outside of your very narrow field of astronomy or astrophysics. You are not doing advanced learning about how the research and higher education ecosystem works in terms of management and budgets and hiring practices. And you're not engaging in learning about entrepreneurship and technology transfer, the transfer of intellectual property outside the university borders. These are the mistakes that we make. We are within an institution right now, and all of these resources that I just mentioned are available to you. I'm not saying that you give up, 90% of your time, which you're supposed to be working on your dissertation on, to do a committee for the postdoc association. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is that it is very worthwhile to you and for your future career prospects and opportunities for you to be involved in committees, to pursue leadership opportunities, to pursue awards, to promote yourself, to give back to the community, and to avail yourself of all the different people within the institution you're in who are in communications, who are in tech transfer, who are in external relations, who are in management, who are in HR, human resources, and elsewhere, research support, so that you can gain as much information as you can to learn about the career paths and to be more equipped to be stronger in the next opportunity. Thank you. Somebody asked a really, really interesting question. This person asks, is it beneficial to go to a graduate school to the United States for an international student? And I appreciate that point. So the question is really, it's a great question. The point is do you want to go to graduate school? That's the first question. Why do you want to go to graduate school? Is it because you want to become a professor? Is it because you want to do X? Is it because you want to do Y? Once you identify the reasons that you want to go to graduate school, not because it's the only thing I can do or it's the only thing I should do, but I want to go to graduate school because I want to learn as much as I can about a particular very narrow field of astronomy, because I want to be able to build a research career in astronomy, because I want to be able to collaborate with other astronomers and astrophysicists. These are the questions you have to answer. If these are the questions, then the next step is, what's the right program for me? And relating to this last slide about institutional resources, no matter what institution you go to for graduate school, whether it's in the United States or Africa, whether it's in India or in Japan or in some other nation elsewhere in the world, whether it's in a small institution or a large one, whether it's in a public or a private, no matter what institution you go to, your job there as a graduate student and as a postdoc in whatever institution you are in is to take advantage of all the resources that institution offers you while also networking internationally. So yes, it's great to go to a marquee or prestigious named institution, but if the advisor there is a jerk, if you're not going to be successful there, or if it's not financially or geographically feasible, there is still value that you can extract from the institution that you are at. By looking at this list of opportunities that you can take advantage of at the institution, and then also continuing your international networking. Don't think because you are thinking that you are limited to only one type of institution that you cannot be a successful scientist. That's not true. And don't let anybody ever tell you that either. The next mistake that people make is thinking that business, the concept of business, does not apply to you. That I'm going to be an astronomer, therefore I don't need to learn business. I don't need to gain leadership or management experience. I don't need to know how to budget. I don't need to know how to do event planning or risk assessment or conflict resolution or communications or any sort of type of marketing because I'm an astronomer. I'm going to be an astronomer. Well, guess what? The business of astronomy exists. It's a real thing. Every organization is a business, including the institution that you're at. Every field has business elements to it, including astronomy. After all, the James Webb telescope that's going to be launched in a few weeks, that telescope did not appear here because of good intentions and great passion about astronomy. It appeared here because of business decisions that were made, because of monetary resources, human resources, and technical resources that were allocated to put this project together. That was all based on business applications, business techniques, business tools. So everything we do, even being a professor, has business elements to it. So one of the ways that we can fix this mistake is to remember to highlight, to assess what business skills we have gained, and then to highlight them when we go on the job market, even the postdoc market, because after all, you're going to be managing your own unique project, your own initiated project. So you want to make sure that you demonstrate that you have those skills. So hone those skills institutionally, communicate those skills, and then showcase how your business skills add value to the scientific enterprise or team that you want to be a part of. Also understand, I noticed that another mistake is people not understanding the team ecosystem, that no matter what career you go into, you will be part of a team. So note the communication methods, priorities, preferences, channels, and cues from your boss, from your team, from your leader, from your supervisor, from your proteges. Know that. So if we can be aware of how the team, the dynamics of the team, how the team interacts, if I can be aware of what my role is in the team, how I can contribute to the team, if I can notice what the team dynamics is in terms of the boss's physical presence in the team and what they're actually contributing, this is going to be very helpful. So the way we fix this in advance is by learning before we join a graduate team or a graduate program or working with a particular advisor or a postdoc team to be a postdoc, is seeing how often is the PI actually there, what is their mentoring strategy and methods, and how do they nurture the team to do their best work. So you can check this by interviewing current and former group members. This is something that you can actually help to do. Somebody also mentioned, Sasha, you mentioned, I really appreciate this. You said not only is obtaining the scientific result important, but also the outreach about it. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. We can call it marketing, we can call it outreach, we can call it communications. Most of it is basically the same thing. So we need to reach out and make sure our community understands what we're doing. Another mistake relating to the communications is not engaging in the most professional way. So recognizing that me being Do you know how old I am, by the way? I know I look 22, right? What's your guess? Throw it in the chat. How old do you think I am? Am I 22? Am I 23? Maybe 24? I mean, this is probably a standard guess. I know, Joseph says I'm 21. Thank you, Joseph. Pioche, I hope I pronounced your name. You say I'm about 20. Thank you so much. I know I look it. I actually just turned 47, y'all. Can you believe that? Is that nutso bananas? Yes, I am 47. Well, guess what? I'm Gen X. I am Gen X, and I communicate differently than somebody who is a Gen Z. I communicate somebody differently than the way somebody who is 21, so the way somebody who is 35, the way somebody who is 65 or 70. So being able to understand that each generation and individual communicates differently and has different ways of communicating is going to be invaluable to you. For example, you send texts to me, I may not necessarily start with a text. So knowing what my preferences are if I'm your boss, is very useful. But in general, don't text somebody when you first meet them unless they give you permission, or if you haven't even met them, don't text them, send them an email first. That's generally a good thing to do. Another mistake is staying with a boss who is toxic or a zombie. They steal your work, they take your glory, they ruin your reputation, they crumble your self-confidence, they damage your health. This is not a creature that you should be anywhere near. You have to escape. You cannot negotiate with an otherworldly creature. You have to get out. That is the bottom line. So realize that you need to get out, and realize that you can get out, and that everything that is important to you, most importantly, your health, is on the line. So talk to somebody you can trust, plan an exit strategy. You don't have to burn bridges. You don't have to talk outwardly that this person is a scumbag, unless you want to. That's your choice, of course, but you don't have to. But be professional as you possibly can, so that you can still potentially not work with them, because you don't want to work with a zombie again, but potentially work with other people in that institution. Another mistake that people make, particularly in the job market, going for postdocs even, is that they don't negotiate. And I would say that you absolutely need certain benefits to do your job and advance as an astronomy educated professional. Particularly as a postdoc, you need time and money to publish, present, and do your own research. So, and that means travel potentially also to, for example, the winter meeting. So guess what? If your advisor is not going to give you those things, then this is probably not going to be a successful postdoc experience for you. But you should absolutely make sure that you negotiate for it, that you ask for it. Remember, they're not going to withdraw the offer just because you negotiated. Find out what is negotiable and think about what is negotiable and important for you to do your best work, and use that as the basis for your negotiation. Mistake number 10 is being inflexible in your collaborations, in your research, and also in how you approach your job and your career planning process. We have to be very flexible. Like I said, opportunities can come from anywhere at any time. So we want to be open to them. So be creative and innovative in your career planning. Look for, plan for, and get ready to move with life's unexpected twists. Embrace them, but have those contingency plans ready to go. And another mistake, and I think this is a really, really scary one. I am somebody who does this, and I have to stop myself from doing it, measuring myself to others, against others, comparing myself to others. You are unique. You are a complex system. Me constantly comparing myself to another person who was at university with me, who is in graduate school, perhaps at another graduate school. Maybe it looks like they have more papers or better impact journals, or I see them presenting their poster at a conference and I haven't done that yet, or they're getting an opportunity to work with Dr. God and I haven't done that yet. That is not helpful to me at all. If I want that, I can start a plan to help me move in that direction. But I should not be measuring myself, because we are on our own unique paths. They are absolutely unique to ourselves, and we get to define our own success. And if you find yourself measuring and comparing yourself to each other, to somebody else, it is absolutely necessary for you to stop it as soon as you possibly can, because it can deteriorate your own mental health. Take it from me. That is something that I had to deal with, in particular, being very honest with you, this year. I noticed I suddenly was measuring myself to people in my own field, and it was making me sicker and sadder and more anxious and fearful every single day. I had to stop it and punch it out, just punch it out of my brain. And when I did, I was invigorated. I was like, oh my God, I can do this, I can do that. I started contacting people. I started building and investing in me, which is what we should be doing, not comparing ourselves to others. Take it from me. It is a deficit and a huge mistake and a potential damaging mistake to compare ourselves to others. We are not on the same path as anybody else, ever. We can take ideas, we can take inspiration and aspiration, but we should not be measuring ourselves. And finally, I think I have 2 more to go. Thinking that a mistake or a choice will be the end of the universe, guess what? We all make mistakes, we all fail, we all use exclamation points way too much, as I did in this talk, but here's the fix. Use less exclamation points and own your mistake or failure. Ask, what lesson can I learn from this? What can I do different, better, or more next time, as my advisor, my counselor, Bobby Reel, says to me? What can I do to improve my skills? How can I ensure that this doesn't happen again? So these are the lessons we've learned today. We have power, we have value, we have choice, we have worth. We can build a strategic plan. We can collect the intrinsic and the extrinsic data and build a bridge through marketing. We can have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. We can recognize that we don't have to go into an experience or stay in an experience just because we think there's nothing else to do. We can also have more than one mentor. I didn't mention that, but that's an important part of how we can fix these mistakes, by having a diversity of people in our own personal board of directors who can advise us and give us insight into different corners of the universe. I'm going to be wary of a mentor, a PI who is absent on sabbatical, who runs a large group, who is not somebody who is embracing mentoring, who is not somebody who is nurturing the group. I'm going to aim not to burn my bridges, and I'm going to communicate with my mentor in the best way possible. And I'm going to use the university's or the institution's resources as much as I possibly can. And I'm going to network, and promote and market ourselves as much as we can. We're also going to give ourselves power by applying for our own funding. When you have your own money, talk about a business thing. When you have your own money, you have more power. So if you can develop, if you can get your own grants now, you will have even more choices in your career. So engage in leadership experiences and ensure that you are accomplishing noticeable tasks during your undergrad experience, during your grad, during your postdoc, such as the research, the internships, the leadership experiences, publishing, presenting at conferences, giving back, paying it forward, so that other people see you as a value added in the organization, in the community, and in the multiverse, so that you too can create your unicorn career. I want to give you a quick resource. This is an article I wrote for Science Magazine. Yes, it's many years old, but it is still relevant. The article is called Recovering from Postdoc Mistakes. You can find it online. As always, I am available. You can message me on LinkedIn or on Twitter at Alaina G. Levine, on Twitter at Alaina G. Levine, on LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn. And as always, I'm going to stick around for additional questions. But as always, I don't wish you good luck in avoiding mistakes or fixing mistakes, because after all, you're astronomers, you rule the universe, you rule the multiverse. But I will say, be kind to yourself, honor yourself, and enjoy your experience and adventure as you create your unicorn career. Thank you so much. This has been my privilege and my honor, as always. What joy to be with you today. I'm going to stick around. Diane, do you think we have time for a few questions today?
Absolutely. If people want to put it in the chat, I guess that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, and I'm going to just take a quick look, see if I can find some questions that people put. You're welcome to put a Q next to your question so I can be able to see them. Salma asked if this will be a recording available. And yes, as always, all of our webinars are recorded and you are able to watch them on the AAS YouTube channel and also on the AAS Career Central website later on. I just want to see if there are any questions. It looks like everybody is enjoying themselves. I'm really happy about this. Okay, here is a question from a shy physicist. This person identifies themselves as a shy physicist, so I'm not going to identify them by name. So this person says, how do you start networking? Right now, I feel like I need to have read all of their papers and have 20 deep questions that I want to ask them. Hold on, I just lost the question. I'm sorry. Have 20 deep questions that I want to ask them in order to reach out. As a result, I don't make nearly as many connections as I'd like. So what do you put in that initial email communication? Let me give you the exact phrasing. And Diane, if you can quickly find this resource so that people can see this. I wrote an article for Physics Today magazine. The article is called Informational Interviews, Part 1 and Part 2. In that article, you will find a template for the email that you can use to actually get the meetings that you want. Shy physicist, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So what you basically say, and Diane is going to throw that in the chat so you have the template, but basically what I say is, dear Dr. Levine, my name is Alaina Levine. I'm a graduate student studying active galactic nuclei at the University of Arizona. I recently saw that you were speaking about gamma ray bursts at the AAS winter meeting. This is a field that I am so interested in, but I really have not explored that much, and I would like to learn more about it. I'm also interested in seeing how I could potentially build a career in research in gamma ray bursts with my background in AGN. Would it be possible to meet with you for 15 minutes via Zoom or WhatsApp or phone? Or if you're going to be in Salt Lake City, maybe we can meet for a coffee. And I'd love to learn more about what you're doing and how I can position myself for success. And so, shy physicist, the point is that you do not have to be an expert in gamma ray bursts to email the person who is an expert in gamma ray bursts. You can simply demonstrate that you want to learn from them. You want to learn more about it, and that you're thinking about how you could potentially position yourself for success in this field. And then when you meet with them, you don't have to have 20 deep questions. I would have 5 questions, because maybe you're going to meet with them for 15 minutes. Maybe you'll have time for 3. So how did you get interested in gamma ray bursts? What's the best part of this research? What are the challenges in doing this research? What are the open questions that still haven't been answered? How can I, as studying active galactic nuclei, how can my skills help you and your team in gamma ray bursts? That's the basics of the questions that you can ask during those informational interviews. So I hope that's helpful to you, and I hope the template will be helpful to you. Thank you, shy physicist. Are there any other shy physicists or non-shy physicists that have any questions today? I'm just looking through. It looks like we have no more shy physicists. We have total extrovert physicists and astrophysicists and astronomers today, and that's fine with me. You know that I'm available. My email is alaina@alainalevine.com. And like I said earlier, I am available to meet with you privately, one-on-one. Diane, you threw it in the chat. Thank you for doing that. You can connect with me and I can talk to you and even send you the email, the link as well, about how we can set up a private career coaching session so I can help you address your specific needs. In the meantime, please let me know how I can help you in the future.
All right. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, you know what? I found my slide, and I can say that there's no on-site registration at the meeting, and we're nearing 1,200 attendees as of today.
What?
And that January 4th is the last day to register. And thank you very much, Alaina. This has been a great topic, I think. And I, like kicking it off without, like my slides working kind of like put me down, but after listening to your talk, I feel so much better. So thank you.
You know what, Diane, I'm kind of glad that happened. I'm sorry that you didn't like it, but I'm kind of glad that happened because it shows you're a human. You make mistakes. I make mistakes. We will make mistakes. And you know what? We roll with it because we are STEM goddesses and gods. We can handle it.
That's true.
And you know,
if you do come to the meeting, Alaina will be doing 6 topical talks, I guess, in the hall. She'll be available for one-on-one consultations as well during the meeting. Those are quickly selling out. I think we have 38 of the 50 slots already filled.
Wow.
So if you're going to register, do it now. You'll save a lot of money and you'll have to get through that vaccination process. If you can't make it, sign up for virtual. All right, everyone. Thank you, Alaina. Bye, all.